now I can make you. Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So I have a little PowerPoint presentation that I want to share with you guys. So bear with me while I share my screen.
This is a meeting for the parents.
I've never had anything really crazy happen.
All right. So are you guys seeing the COVID-19 testing for all students?
Asked me to move my sunglasses.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. So
that was a little weird, and I was like, okay, and then I left the car like during my eyes.
Okay. So I think we can hear some background noise. So if you could kindly mute yourselves. Any questions you have, please put in the chat, or we can address them at the end. But this is it's a very important piece that Lausd is working on right now to have all students tested. So right now, our goal is to ensure that when students return back to schools, we bring them back in the safest way possible. We are now currently offering COVID testing before they return. So this is going to be like the first batch of testing for students. This is kind of like a baseline test. And then once we get closer to opening up schools, they're going to be tested again a second time. Okay. It's really simple to schedule an appointment. The link is here, and I'll put in the chat afterwards. achieve.lausd.net, COVID testing appointment. All right, so there's two little quick short videos by Superintendent Buhner that I want to share with you guys. So let me play the first one. Whoops. Let's hope this works. Okay. Are you guys? You guys seen the video?
We all know students learn best in a school setting.
No.
The goal has to be to make sure students.
You can hear it. You can't see it.
What we're doing is building a program.
Let me stop and reshare again. You got to do that periodically. How about now? Video? Cool.
Which will allow us, when community health conditions are right, to bring students and teachers back to a classroom in as safe a manner as possible. What we're trying to do hasn't been done before, but none of us have faced COVID before. So the need to test for the virus at schools and follow up quickly and identify those who might have been exposed, we believe is an essential part of mitigating risk at schools. We're the first school district in the nation to try to do this. It's an awesome responsibility and undertaking to do this, which is why we brought in world-class partners to help us, which is why we've been testing and practicing for many months now. And as we roll this out, there'll be some bumps in the road, but we think the effort we're putting into this to make it right and the information we'll be able to share with the school community will help mitigate risk to the greatest extent. To bring students and teachers back to a classroom relies on three things. The first is a set of health practices in schools. There literally is an N95 filter in the air conditioner here. You got that nice mask on? The air's cleaner. We electrostatically clean. We keep people apart. Your temperature will be checked every day at school. The second, testing for the virus amongst all in the school community. Students, teachers, all who work at a school, and any family members of students and teachers who might have tested positive for the virus or show symptoms of the virus. We're doing everything we can because students have to be back in schools. We can't wait for a vaccine. And third, the ability to contact those who may have tested positive or those who may have been in contact with an individual tested positive so we can quickly isolate them from the rest of the school community. We've gone literally to the ends of the earth to make sure we do this in the right way. We've got 3 universities, 2 health insurers, 1 technology giant, 2 testing partners, both of which can provide us with the volume of tests we need on an overnight basis at a price which makes this feasible. We're all together trying to do something which hasn't been done because we think it's necessary. We created, together with Microsoft, an app. And what that does is allows you to go through a series of things to check your own health every day. If you have no symptoms, a green QR code comes up, you can come to school. If it shows red, as in you might have a symptom, there's a phone number. You'll be put in touch with a clinician who can tell you what to do next. We built in the ability to get a test. So in addition to just a self-check for symptoms, there's also the possibility to receive a COVID test. The testing will be provided free to anyone who works for the school district, any student in one of our schools, and any family member of a student or staff member who tests positive or shows symptoms. We're going to keep all the information safe and secure. We're not sharing the data other than with health authorities as required by law or administrators to make sure we can contact families. The way it works is actually pretty simple. You get a call or an email, please come take a test. You'll register at a place and a time that works for you. You'll be asked, have you done your health survey first? Because if you show symptoms, you'll be treated differently than if you don't show symptoms. You'll be asked your name, your ID. The person who registers you will provide a kit, which is the kit that goes with you through the testing process. That's where your swab comes from. You'll take the test. That kit gets packaged back up, scanned, put in the truck on the way to the lab. The next day you get the result. If it's a positive test, you'll be immediately contacted. Conversation will ensue about how to make sure you get the health care you need. If you test negative for the virus, come right back to school. An important part of the health practices is to keep a safe distance apart and maintain cohorts. 12 students, that's a cohort. After you've had a baseline test, that cohort will receive periodic additional testing based on what our science partners tell us. Someone in your cohort tests positive. Everyone in that cohort will receive a phone call. Obviously, if you've tested positive, you'll be told that. If you've tested negative, you'll be told someone in your cohort tests positive. You won't be given the name. The individual who tested positive, see your doctor. If you're the individual as part of that cohort who didn't, isolate at home. For the other members of the school, there's a dashboard. We call it a school COVID report card. The dashboard will go from green, which means there's no occurrence at a school, to yellow, which means there has been an occurrence, and it'll show what cohort the occurrence was in. Risk is around us. The goal has to be to make sure in a school environment we mitigate it as much as possible. And my commitment all along to my colleagues has been, I'm not going to ask you to go back to school unless I'd be there right alongside you. And I look at this and say, with health practice in place, with testing for the virus for all in the school community, and the ability to isolate those who may have it, I feel we've done everything we can to make the school environment as safe as possible for students and all who work in schools.
Okay, let me get back to the presentation. So that's like a pretty strong overview of what's kind of taking place right now and what Superintendent Buhner's plan is. Just a couple more slides. Oops. No, hang on, sorry. Okay. So as you mentioned, there's lots of big partnerships that are taking on this big endeavor. Stanford, UCLA, Johns Hopkins, Microsoft, lots of partners who really want this to be successful. So the testing process is really simple. You make an appointment, you go to the site, the test is free. It'll take you less than 10 minutes. You may have noticed our own Kim Goodman is on the video. You stick the Q-tip in your nose for about 30 seconds on each nostril, and that is it. And then you get your results within 24 to 36 hours. So super fast, super easy, completely free. There's another little video on scheduling an appointment. So I'm gonna show this as well. Whoops.
Welcome! In this training, we will show you the steps required to book an LAUSD COVID-19 test appointment for yourself and also how to register a dependent.
Mr. G, we can't see the
If
video.
you're one of the individuals who was invited to test, you will receive an email URL to the
Let's do
booking
that
app.
again.
Click on the URL from here. Make
Now?
sure to make a selection either under employees or parents and invited guests. The two options for each are get a daily pass and book an LAUSD COVID-19 test appointment. For this training, we will be making an appointment. On the next screen, answer whether you were notified to schedule an appointment and if you're going to be registering dependent children. Make a selection from the drop-down menu. In the last field, enter the code shown and click Next. To add a dependent, click on the Add Dependent button on the right side of the screen. Next, you will enter the student's information: name, student ID, date of birth, race, gender, and ethnicity. In the next fields, you will answer the following questions. Is this the dependent's first COVID-19 test? Is your dependent employed in the healthcare industry? Is your dependent pregnant? Is your dependent a resident in a congregate care setting? These are skilled nursing facilities and facilities that provide some level of care to residents. Lastly, ask if your dependent is symptomatic as defined by the CDC. Click on Submit to add your dependent. You will now see your dependent listed. If you need to add more dependents, click on Add Dependent. You will have to answer the same questions for each dependent. After you are done adding dependents, click on Next. You will now enter your information: name, date of birth, race, gender, ethnicity, email address, and home address. Please enter a primary phone number where you can be reached regarding COVID-19 testing. Select the phone type and enter your phone number. A second phone number can be entered, but it's not mandatory. On the following screen, you can review the consent and authorization forms for yourself and any dependents that are scheduled for testing. To consent and authorize, select Yes from the drop-down menu. Your consent and authorization will be recorded as your electronic signature for yourself as well as for your dependents. Next, you will list every LAUSD school or site that you have entered in the last 72 hours or that you plan to enter during the next 72 hours. If you haven't entered and do not plan to enter any sites during the next 72 hours, type in None. Answer if you or any of your dependents have been within 6 feet of anyone for over 15 minutes with any of the symptoms listed or a COVID-19 case in the past 14 days. Make a selection from the drop-down menu. On the following screen, you will be asked if this is your first test, are you employed in the health industry, and whether you are pregnant. Answer each question by making a selection from the menu. Now you will be asked if you're a resident in a congregate care setting and if you're symptomatic. Make your selection from the drop-down menu for each question and click Next. On the next screen, select a test location from the drop-down menu and click Next. Select a test date and a test time and click Next. A confirmation screen will appear. This information will also be sent to the email address that you provided earlier. This concludes this training on the LAUSD COVID-19 testing registration process. Thank you for watching.
Okay. And I think that's the last slide. So that is the last slide. So again, just really important. We're trying to get a baseline data of different school sites, different neighborhoods to see what the data will tell us and use that information towards reopening. So this is part of a greater push to hopefully have schools reopened by the second semester when we come back from winter break. There are some schools that are having individual students coming in for one-on-one tutoring. We have one student at the moment because we only have one teacher interested in doing it. But some school sites have more. In order to participate in that, you do have to have a COVID test. And then eventually when schools reopen, you will have to have a COVID test. Like kids will not be allowed to come onto campus if they are not tested, okay? I'm going to stop sharing because that's all I have for that. And I'm gonna go back and I think I have to make you host again, Kate, is that correct?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why it's not letting me make co-hosts, but we'll figure that out for next time. So
No worries. So I'm going to make you host again.
Great.
And I'm going to put the information again. You should have received an email and also a text message regarding how to schedule an appointment. I just have two other quick announcements. Coffee with the Principal will be on the 26th, Monday the 26th. It's usually the last Monday of the month at 11 a.m. And there's also a cool website called Board of Boredom. It was made by a Harvard Westlake student many years ago, and it basically offers free online classes in both academic and non-academic subjects. So I'll put that in the chat as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. G. The next item on the agenda is the annual giving campaign. Jen?
I'm sorry, I have a question regarding the testing. May I ask it now?
Yes, of course. Sorry. Go ahead.
It sounds, it might be a very silly question. You want all the family to be tested, not just the students that are going to be in LAUSD, correct?
Right now, it's offered to students. If a student tests positive, then all of the immediate family members will be contact tracing all the way down to as far as they can. So then parents, family members will be tested. But right now, it's for students.
Just students.
Just students.
Not the parents. Just the students.
No, we're trying to get all the students tested to get some baseline data. But if a child tests positive, then the entire family will be tested.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a question too regarding testing. So you said that at a baseline and to find out about the students in LAUSD. What about when we get close to January? Are we going to test again, obviously, when it gets close to a reopening, I would assume?
Yes.
And how later on also during the school year, as we know, you can have no symptom, have no fever or anything, and still be like in the incubation period and still be able to transmit COVID. So in that case, would it be like also periodic testing during the year? I don't know, like this.
That's an excellent question. So yes, once we get the baseline test, then you get the test closer to the school opening. Then throughout the semester, there'll be periodic testing as well, just to make sure that we continue to stay safe and negative. So yes, there will be periodic testing. The frequency, I do not know. I cannot say whether it be like once a week, twice a week, or that I can't speak to yet, but there will be constant frequent testing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Superintendent Beers is going to great lengths to do this. As he mentioned, no other school district is taking this on. I think New York is now like thinking about it. But I mean, if you look at it, his goal is to show like, okay, everybody at the school site is negative. Therefore, making parents feel comfortable. It's okay to send my child back because the entire school has tested negative. So it's a huge undertaking.
I'm sorry.
Question.
So I think Danielle has a question.
Hi there. Wanted to see in terms of siblings. So if, for example, my third grader tests positive, my first grader doesn't. Presumably that first grader will eventually test positive because if they're in the same household, it is highly likely that he will also have it at some point in the near future. Will my first grader's cohort be notified that my third grader tested positive, or no, because my first grader didn't test positive yet?
That's a good question. My initial instinct tells me that your third grader and your first grader will be asked to quarantine for 10 days. And then I would assume that they would notify parents as well because of siblings in that class, and there's a higher risk. So anytime there's a higher risk, safety being our number one concern right here. So I think if somebody tests positive and we know that there's a sibling in another grade level or another case level, then they would be notified of that as well. Yeah. That'd be my assumption. He didn't specify that, but I would assume to err on safety and caution.
Yeah, and presumably they're going to base it off positive tests. But it's just like if Corbin doesn't test positive yet, but Mason has it, it's highly likely that like Corbin will test again and likely have it. So.
Right. And that kind of brings about there's a huge responsibility on parents and everybody that comes onto the school campus, because, you can have access to that app and that's very serious. And if you say like, oh no, my child doesn't have symptoms, but maybe your child did have a fever, but you gave him some Tylenol this morning or something, that could have serious consequences. So it's really, really important to parents to be honest, forthcoming, and do the right thing. so we can stay open.
Okay, someone asked in the chat if the first round of testing is mandatory, the baseline.
No, but highly encouraged. Yeah.
And then Carolina asked a question about on-site tutoring.
Yeah, I was just wanted to get more information on what that's about. I don't know if I missed something, like what's available to whom and when and where.
So right now there's one-to-one tutoring that's being offered throughout the district. Richland is one of the sites, but we only have one teacher currently interested in doing it, so we can only bring back one student. Our focus is on first grade. It's on focus on English learners, kids who are struggling with learning language or learning French as well. So there's various criteria, but because there seems to be the lack of teacher interest in wanting to do this, therefore we can't bring back as many students as we would like to.
Okay, so right now there's one single student being tutored by one single teacher and there's no availability for anyone else.
Correct. No, I mean, you can express interest and we'll put you on the list. And then if more teachers want to do it, this is strictly, it's a one-to-one. So even if we had 5 teachers, if we had 10 teachers, we could only bring back 10 students. So it's strictly one-to-one. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's 1 hour a week. It's 1 hour, 2 hours a week. It goes from 2:30 to 3:30, 2 days a week after school. So, but if you're interested in doing that, just shoot me an email. We'll add you to the list of interested parties.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing right now in the chat.
Yeah, if nobody has any other questions, we can move to the next item on our agenda, and that's the annual giving campaign. If Jen and Martha, are you here? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hey everyone, I'm Marta. Just a quick update. We are almost at the end of week 2 of our giving campaign, and it's not good news. We're not where we need. We need every family to participate. I think of it a little bit like the NPR fundraising drive. Like, they tell you about all of the things that they're going to cancel if they don't meet their goal. And I don't want to cancel anything at school right now, even though we're not there. We're paying for teachers' aides and the orchestra equipments that just went out this week, the learning garden equipment and things like that. So even though we're not there, we still need to raise this money. And I know that it's a lot easier to ignore emails and newsletters than if we are standing in front of the federal gate every morning or sending you enough flyers in your kids' backpacks to wallpaper your house. But it is important even though we're not there. So we need everybody to step up so we don't have to cancel any of our programs. We want to have a robust school to return to. So I'll pass it over to Jen now for the specific numbers.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give you an update of where we are in terms of participation, because as you all know, if you don't know, I'll share again here. We're trying to raise $200,000, which was the same goal as last year. And not just the same goal as last year, but last year we ended up achieving that goal of raising $200,000. So being mindful of financial situations, even though we've grown in the school by adding additional students this year to the French program, we have kept the goal the same. And our intention is to hope that every family participates. So
you're not getting the snack. Here's your plum.
We end the campaign at 100% participation. That is our goal. We are currently at 19% participation. So we have 19% of our families participating at this point, and we are almost at the end of week 2. This time last year, not this time last year, but the end of week 2 last year, we were at 25% participation. We did end the campaign at almost 70% participation. So I'm going to quickly run through by class where we are, and I will be sharing this information with the room parents so that we can publish this to each class to see if we can motivate each family to participate. And again, we ask $1,500 to $2,000 per family, and that's regardless of how many students you have enrolled at Richland. We ask $1,500. But what we understand is everyone's financial situation is different. And so if what your family can give this year is $1,000, or you can can give $50 a month. Remember that there are options of monthly donations. Do what you can. Our goal is to have every single family's name up scrolling on our website in recognition of you are a participant of our community, of our fundraising, and that we want to see all the names up there. So if you have already donated, your name should already be scrolling on the website. If it's not, let me know. Just shoot me an email or shoot Boosters an email and it will filter its way to me. If you don't like the way your name is up there, because I take the names sort of just from PayPal, and so if it's not your family name, or it's written up there not the way you want, then please let me know and we will adjust that. Sorry, I have a phone ringing in the background that I do not know how to mute. I'm not at my home, so bear with me just 1 second. I'll try to move. Okay, so by class, we are at Mrs. Stage, her classroom, we are at 5% participation. In Madam Moore's class in kinder, we are at 24% participation. In Miss Rojas' class, we're at 22% participation. In Madam Weedham's class, we are at 14% participation. In Mr. Gatus's class, we are at 17% participation. In Miss Dula's class, we are at 21% participation. In Miss Leon's class, we are at 30% participation. In third grade, Miss Morikawa's class, we are at 32% participation. In Miss Burgess's class, we are at 29% participation. In Madam Akindi's class, fourth grade, we are at 8% participation. In Miss Fitchner's class, we have 9% participation. In fifth grade, we are at, in Miss Goodman's class, we are at 24% participation. In Madam Zudu's class, or Miss Zudu's class, we are at 11% participation. And in Miss Dinieri's class, we are at 8% participation. So as a school, we are at 19% participation. And as I said, we have a long way to go. We're trying to get to 100%. We know that times are different this year. We know that things are, can be challenging for certain families or all of us, but we know that without this money, Richland will not be the same school that all of you have joined, and it's as important this year as it has been every other year. And that's it.
We have a question from Damien. He's asking if in the 19%, people who are on the auto pay, like the monthly pay, I guess, are counted in that percentage.
Absolutely. And I have to say that's a large portion of it. We probably only have about 9, 10 new families, 10 families that have started a donation. The remainder of that 19% really is families that are on auto monthly pay, who have generously decided to contribute throughout the summer, throughout the year, who have made Richland, a priority of one of their monthly contributions. So yes, absolutely, they are part of it.
I do not see any other questions relating to the annual giving campaign. Does anybody have any other questions before we move to the next item? All right, let's see. Okay. So actually, the next item is the UTLA update, but Mr. Gatus, who does the parent councils, has to leave early. So if that's okay, he's gonna talk next.
That sounds good. Excuse me. Sorry, Mary Lee and Astrid, for going ahead of you. Hi, everybody. I'm Mr. Gatus, and I am the head of council or restorative justice at our school. And I just want to tell you a little bit about what that is. Can you guys hear me okay? We good? Okay. I think we're still sharing the screen of the agenda. Just some background on what restorative justice is. About 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little more, the district realized that it had a problem. And the problem was that particularly in schools with high populations of Black and brown children, and particularly in middle and high school, that when behaviors were disciplined, they often led to expulsions. And what you're doing there is you're losing your own customers, first of all. You're kicking out kids who belong in a school. Secondly, in those communities, it contributed a lot to the school to prison pipeline. It just made it worse. If you kick a kid out of high school in 10th or 11th grade, you just increase his chances he's gonna or she go to prison. But as you know, the statistics point mostly toward male and mostly toward Black and brown students. So that obviously is a kind of institutional bias that was helping no one. So what they started to do was restorative justice, which was not invented by the district, but was adopted by the district, where if you do something wrong in school, if you break a rule, it isn't handled that you broke rule A, so you get punishment A. It doesn't work like that. What you do is you work with a scalable group of people from 1 to 5 to 10 or more, depending on how it works at your school, where you get restorative justice. And you, the person who did something wrong, and the person that you wronged have to, at a minimum, have a conversation about what was lost to you when you were that victim and how can it be restored. And also the person who is doing the deed may also be losing something too. Maybe they hurt their friend because they were hurt themselves. So that's where it came from, that setting. But it turns out it could be applied to any demographic and any age. So applying it to our demographic and our younger age at Richland has been very successful. And you can ask people like Mr. G, Katie, Mary Lee, and many others that there has been a difference on our campus in the last 2 to 3 years in terms of seeing kids solving problems by themselves without adults. And counsel and restorative justice, for that reason, is this wonderful critical thinking, problem solving skill. And along with CGI math, which we also do at our school, we're really trying to get kids to be independent, deep thinkers who can solve their own problems and work it out. We've seen impromptu councils just come together on the playground where there's a little circle of 4 or 5 kids and one person is leading the discussion and it's solved and they never have to go to an adult. So all of that said, that's what it looks like. In remote circumstances, it looks a little bit different because the behavior issues that we're dealing with remotely are very different than they would be if we had people in school, right? People aren't going to the office to Mr. G because somebody got punched in the face. Now you can't punch anybody in the face. You know yourself. So it's a little different remotely. And parent council is just to apply those same things to topics that adults can talk about. And some of the things we've talked about recently are what have you been doing to be safe, to prepare for Halloween? What's been successful for you at home when you're really stressed out with your kids? You know, questions like that that have been helpful and topical. So that's what we do. That's the root of it. We're meeting once a month at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock on the flyer that's in your packet. So check that out. We had our second one on Monday and our next one will be next month. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so I saw there was some questions, but I think Marta is responding to Sarah in the comments. So we're gonna leave that to keep us moving, given that it's almost 1:40. So next up is Ms. Dula with a UTLA update.
Hi, everyone. There's also Ms. Burgess here. She and I are co-chairs. I don't know where she is. Right? There's so many people. Oh, hello. Okay. So we are here to talk a little bit about UTLA, our parent CAP team, and then a bit about the union's stance on a couple of things on the ballot this November. A couple of very helpful parents have already emailed me and asked me for some information.
You can take a break if you want, or you can listen to another one. Okay, so.
I'll wait. So a couple of very helpful parents have already emailed me and asked for some information. So you may have received some information about the union's sort of agenda in terms of issues on the ballot this November. No, it's totally fine, Jane. Sorry, that was just teacher instinct. So we are just going to be talking about those things today. So first of all, UTLA is obviously the teachers union. They are the body that's right now in bargaining with the district about reopening. They are our advocacy group. A a majority of LAUSD teachers are members, and it's a union. It's our union. And so that's what that is. Parents are invited, if they would like to be part of our union CAP team, which is just basically the parent liaison with the union. And I'm going to put my email into the chat so that if you would like, and this is my personal email. Obviously, I don't connect my district email to the union issues. So if you would like to be a part of the parent CAP team, which basically involves just supporting the teachers and being on top of what's going on in the union, you are more than welcome to email me. And then finally, Astrid and I are here to talk about Prop 15 and Measure RR, which are on the ballot in November. So Prop 15 is basically closing a loophole. That is the big thing that the union has been saying about Prop 15. So it is about closing property tax loopholes that allow very large corporations right now to not maybe pay their best share of taxes that they could. So it's closing that so that they will need to now pay their fair share in property taxes, and it will cut small business taxes as well. So it'll reclaim about $12 billion every year for the state of California. And LA County is probably set to receive about 3.7 billion of that per year. So that's quite a hefty chunk of change, obviously. So it protects homeowners, renters, and small businesses and agricultural land. So they're continue to be protected by Prop 13. It exempts smaller businesses whose property is valued under $3 million, and it ensures transparency and accountability by requiring public disclosure of this new revenue. So we will be able to sort of see and monitor what that goes into. Hopefully, how the community will benefit will be that we will have smaller class sizes, better healthcare services, which is obviously really important right now, preparing for future disasters, wildfires, earthquakes, and now pandemics. It'll provide safe drinking water. It provides for fighting against homelessness, and also for firefighters and their equipment who go and help combat fires that come near to schools and the communities that they are in. So if anyone has any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them via email. But the union stance is please vote yes on Prop 15. It is very important. It's a large source of revenue for us, which is obviously something that we're really going to need. LAUSD is set to have, I think, a $220 million deficit this year. So that's going to be really tough. So this would be a great win for us to have so that we don't have to lose anything. Astrid, do you want to talk about RR?
So Measure RR. So 70% of LAUSD schools have been built more than 50 years ago now. So voting yes on Measure RR would mean that LAUSD would be authorized to issue $7 billion in general obligation bonds for specific purposes, which are updating schools and learning technologies, complete basic and necessary school site upgrades, remove and reduce asbestos, lead paint, and water quality hazards in schools, modernize the science classrooms and labs, as well as engineering classroom and making them ready for 21st century learning, and overall improve accessibility, earthquake safety, and as well right now prepare schools for COVID-19 reopenings. So helping with cleanliness and distinct standards for students and faculty. So it's just really investing more money to upgrade all of our schools because our schools are not modern right now. So just really revamping all of the schools at LAUSD and in Los Angeles. So the main stance of the union right now is voting for yes on Measure RR. You can go to a website. I'm trying to keep this pretty short. If you go on yes on RR for laschools.com, they have really clear specifics on what Measure RR, voting yes on Measure RR entails. So again, you can always email us, but the website is yes on RR for laschools.com.
I think that's it. That's all we have to say. So again, if you want to be part of our CAP teams, or if you want to If there's any other information you'd like about the union or what we do, or you have any questions for us specifically, please do email us. We're always happy to hear from you. So yay, that's it.
Well, thank you both very much for the update. I don't see any questions in the chat. If so, we can move to the next item, and that's the Halloween event that Damien is planning, along with the community members in the neighborhood and the church and boosters and other parties. Damien, if you're here, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi, thank you. First off, let me say that whenever Pamela did the agendas, I was always directly after my mother-in-law instead of directly before her. So this is a huge improvement, and I appreciate that very much. Secondly, we've been working, the church, some members of the Boosters Club, some members of the neighborhood, we've been working on trying to do a number of things to create fun and socially distanced safe activities for kids. And when we say the neighborhood, we include anyone that goes to Richland or goes to Daniel Webster as part of our neighborhood. And so there's going to be an event in the church parking lot in the morning of Halloween. And in the early afternoon, 2 separate events for little kids that involve crafts, as a chance to wear your costumes out if you haven't had another chance, sort of thing. And then in the evening, right now, we're distributing flyers. We're going around and asking houses that have some sort of nice Halloween display or some sort of plan to socially distance deliver treats. The one that we've seen a couple people already talking about is a quote unquote graveyard of candy bars where they're put on a stick and stuck in the ground and the kids can just snatch one, or any other sort of safe Halloween event, to send the information in through a link that's provided on the flyer or in the or if you're getting it online in the text of the story, which goes to a Google form, which populates a Google map. We're only asking for people that are doing houses sort of in that square that's between, let's see if I can do all of this, Barrington and Butler and Clarkson and Pearl. And so we will, the flyer right now to try and get houses to sign up is being put out now. It's on the Booster Web's Facebook page. It's in the package you got. And once we have at least a dozen houses so that we know that it's worthwhile, there will be a flyer that goes out that'll have, oh, there it is. There will be a second flyer that goes out that has the information for the kids events in the little kid events in the morning and for the evening trick or treat. We might just have a QR code for people so that they can put it on their phone as opposed to try and print out a map of the neighborhood. And then the map will include information on what houses are participating and how they're participating. So if you wanted to keep your kids away from candy for or houses that were too scary, you know, that'll all be in the map. Also, don't forget ice cream in the parking lot this Friday and every Friday at the church parking lot 2 blocks south of school. We're always happy to see people there, and we've had a few teachers come and visit, and it's kids are, of course, really excited to be able to see each other. And we have a mask requirement for the parking lot unless you're actually physically eating, but then we have a distance requirement, and everyone's been really good about following it. We've done this 5 weeks now with the local ice cream truck. So it's a nice after school treat. If you haven't seen our flyer, you can just come to the church parking lot any Friday.
Awesome. Thank you, Damien. And I did see a question in the chat about Halloween Day events at school. I believe individual teachers are planning those. Is that correct, Mr. G?
That is correct. I believe we're going to do like a school-wide video. We're going to have people submit pictures of themselves in costume, like the staff, and then Cam is going to edit that together to send out. But then there's also going to be individual, like little, not parties, but like activities taking place in the classrooms with the teachers on Zoom.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. G. Okay, so up next, and we did not mean to demote you, Fran, to after Damien, but this way, if you didn't like anything he said, you can always correct him. So upside.
You'll know better the next time. That's fine.
All right, well, you're up, ma'am.
Okay, so thanks for including the flyer in the on your agenda and packet. I also want to publicly thank Mr. G and his staff for helping me put together the presentation. I've never done a virtual remote parenting workshop. It's much more my style to be in the room with you and, informally talk. And, but I'm glad that Mr. G had a couple glitches today, so I will not feel like it's unique to me that things might go wrong. But he has really graciously offered to be there with me, host it, and field the questions as they come in to alert me to them. Obviously, the topic is resiliency. My goal over the 3 years that I volunteered to do the parenting workshop is to really give you some practical strategies that I have seen really make a difference over the 40-some year career I have had working with kids and families. And the real goal is to support the social justice program that's in the school already in the rule, and to focus on what kids already have going for them so that we can support that instead of really focusing on so much on the negative. But we talk about those negative things that can reduce their ability to be who all that they can be. So I look forward to some of my old parents coming back, not old in age, but old that know me, and some new faces. And as you know, it's on October 29th and at 3 o'clock, and we will work at this together. And I look forward to doing it, I think. So if there's any questions, or I'd be glad to answer them.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Fran. I'm just looking if I see any questions. So if we don't have any questions, we can move to the next item on the list, and that's the treasurer's report with Pamela.
Yay. So welcome to the meeting. And I'm just going to go through the forecast. And we'll go through the forecast first, and then you'll see the financials are just a couple pages after it. But currently we have in our, as of 9/30, as I mentioned last month, the bank accounts are reconciled at the end of the previous month. So this doesn't include any contributions made this month in October, or any payments that we've made in October. So at 9/30, we have $195,000 in our bank accounts. However, $29,800 is set aside for reserves, which is $25,000 for reserves, $2,500 for long-term allocation, and then the liabilities, which is the DELF, which I think that's $2,300. So we currently have available to spend $166,000, and we have remaining this year $46,912. We're estimating next year's budget, estimating only. We'll get the actual number in January and February when we do the budget meeting, but we're estimating approximately $251,000 for next year. So that brings our total budget for current year and next year to $298,000. And if you scroll down, you'll see that that leaves us $132,000 deficit, which means we need to raise $132,000 this year. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see the actual financial report. You'll see the numbers tied to the bank accounts. The DELF test is $2,300, as I mentioned. You can keep scrolling. And right here, you can see giving campaign as of 9/30 has received $16,180. Amazon Smile came in with 140, and the Ralph's Rewards 401. Then we have expenses that we've already paid out this year. The orchestra's $23,000. The teachers and the coordinator is $95,000. And that's it. So we need to bring in $132,000 to fund the remainder of this year and next year. Are there any questions? Damien? No? Okay, that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Well, and speaking of that ongoing fundraisers, I'm just going to briefly remind everyone that if you aren't signed up for those things, to please do that. I think especially this year, like when you're spending money anyways, hopefully yesterday when you were shopping Amazon Prime Day. If you go to the Boosters webpage on Richland's website, it lists out all of the different ongoing fundraisers and how to sign up. We're going to be featuring a different one every month. So in the packet is this little graphic that shows you how to sign up to link your Ralph's account. I think Ralph's is the one that brings in the most. So if you're going to do one thing, do this one. And that's really all I have to say on that. So how are you going to talk about STAR?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that STAR is still offering after-school free enrichment programs for those who are interested in supplementing your kids' education with enrichment programs. It's free, and I can share the flyer. It has the instructions.
Oh.
Hold on, it's right here. And, there we go. Let's see. Okay. There we go. So yeah, I think that concludes the items we have on the agenda. So we have 5 minutes for any questions anyone has. See, I think I see something in the chat.
Yeah, Danielle, do you want to talk about the Light Bright bike event?
Sure. So Brad Wilhite, who I believe is also still on the call, it was his idea. I just created a flyer and I've been helping to promote, but we did it for the first time last Friday night. Everyone met in the Richland parking lot at about 6:26 p.m., which was sunset, and then went for a bike ride around the neighborhood. People had lights on their bikes, on their scooters, on themselves. It was really fun. There was about, our estimate was anywhere from 150 to 200 people. So quite a big turnout. Yeah, so it was like the streets were just packed with children and kids. But the good thing is you're separated, you're on your bike, so you can only get so close to people. You're still distanced, which was great. But it was the streets around the school. At one point, we almost looped so that the front of the parade met the back of the parade. There were so many people. So it was great, a great chance to catch up with everyone. Just a really fun event. And at the end, everyone's like, when are we doing it next? And then Brad said, how about next Friday? So Brad, you're here, you can chime in too. Yeah, he gave a thumbs up. He'll just let me keep talking. So with that, we are doing it this Friday night. So anyone who's interested, I know people are upping their light game. So get your lights ready, and we'll once again meet at 6:26. Sunset is a little earlier this week, but we didn't want to confuse everybody. We already had the 6:26 going, so we're sticking with that. We'll meet in the Richland parking lot and do several loops around the neighborhood on all the slow streets. Thank you, Damien and team, for implementing those slow streets. They're being put to good use. So if anyone wants to join, come meet us then.
Well said, well said.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Any other questions in our remaining couple minutes?
Hey, it's Jen here. I just want to make a comment on the after school STAR. Emil has been doing the 245 classes, and they're Monday to Friday, and they've been really great. There's like only 1 or 2 kids on them each day. So I know some of you are like, ugh, my kids are zoomed out, but Emil just has the 2 Zooms a day. And in the afternoon, I'm like, oh my God, I still need work. I still need him to be doing something. So I have to say they've been fantastic. Monday is music, Tuesday is media arts, Wednesdays is Spanish, Thursdays is I think ecology, and Friday is cooking. And I think Miss Lisa is supposed to be running them, but she's out, so she has a substitute. Patty is running them, and she's doing a fabulous job. And they had a music teacher on Monday, someone who was doing the guitar. So I just recommend you guys pop it if you want. It's free and it's easy, and there's no commitment. I'm sure they'd be happy to have you come just Mondays or a few days a week, but I just want to put a plug out there because I think it's great that we offer it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've convinced me to make Sophie do Wednesday Spanish. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions or comments, so I think we can give everyone 2 whole minutes back in their day. But thank you so much for your participation today, and reach out if there's anything we can do to support your work. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.